Hey everyone, welcome to the rigging and weight painting section of these tutorials. If you randomly found this video by chance, make sure to watch the modeling video first. You'll see a link in the description below. Let's begin. Alright, let's move on to rigging. The only thing I changed in between the modeling and rigging stages is that I changed the scale of the body and the feet. I made them a bit smaller because I thought it looked better. Now what we're going to do is join all these objects. So hold Control, hold left click, and select all of these. To make sure they're selected, just try and move it. Press undo so it comes back to the center, and we're going to press Control J. Now that it is all together, we're going to make sure the location is 0, 0, 0, which it is. And we're going to begin rigging this. There are a few things you need to know before we start. If you go to your numpad, you can press 1 and 3 to switch between side and front view. You can also do this in the View tab over here by clicking on these. If you press 5, you'll switch to orthographic view, which is what we need when we're rigging. So select 5, and let's begin. If you can't press 5, make sure to just switch it here. So once we're in this view, hold Shift. I'm just going to move this out of the way. Once you're in this view, hold Shift and right click to move around. We're going to go to Create, Armature, and drag this into the center. I'm going to press Shift Tab so it's no longer snapping. I'm going to click on X-ray, and we want to make this so it's somewhere in the center. And once you've done that, we're going to press Tab, and then all we need to do is press E and choose an axis, which is Z, and move it up, and you'll create a new bone. This bone we're going to set here so we can connect it to the arms. We're going to press E, press Z again, bring one to the neck, E, Z again to the top of the head. We are then going to go down here. I'm going to go to this bone actually. We're going to press Shift E and bring it out on the Y-axis. Press E, bring it out on the Y-axis again. This bone here will allow us to rotate the hand easily. Press E, Y, and bring it out to here. We can then shift, so right click here, shift, right click, shift, right click. We can press Shift D. We can press R, go to the X axis and rotate that. Before you do that, make sure you press Shift Tab, X axis, and then rotate so it's snapping. I'm then going to press Shift Tab to get out of that. And you'll notice when we move it, it has these little dots, which means it's parented to that bone. And we'll bring it out to around here. I'm just going to adjust this. And that looks good. So the next thing we're going to do is set up the feet. So right click here. We're going to press E, go to the Y-axis and bring that out. Right click, press E again, Y-axis, bring that out. We're then going to select both of these, press E, go to the Z, move it down, so that's the knee, E, Z, move it down to the foot. We can then press 5, and we need to fix this up. We'll do that in a second. So press Tab, and we'll just move this into place. Press 1, then 5 to go into the side view. Whoops. And drag that around until you're happy with it. So about here is good. Press 5, press Tab to go into edit mode, and let's select these two. We'll press 5 and 1, press E, then the X axis, and drag that out. We can then press 5, select this bone, select that bone, and drag it up a little bit. Awesome. Now that that's set up, there is only one more thing we need to do before we go on to the weight painting part. We need to select the click the plus button on the armature, click plus here, and we've got 3 bones. We can only have one root bone. So let's double click this bone here and call it the root bone. And we need to make these a child of this so that when we move it, they're all connected and they all respond to this one bone. It also helps in the hierarchy for Unreal, and in Unreal you cannot import more than one root bone, and I'm pretty sure you'd have issues if you did that in Unity as well. So let's select this bone here, Shift, select this bone up here, press Ctrl P to parent it, and keep offset. Right click here, Shift right click here, Ctrl P, keep offset, and now they are all underneath. And we have all the bones here. What we can do now is name all these bones. So in this sped up section, I'm just naming the bones. If you want to follow along, you can slow the footage down. The naming conventions are pretty simple. We just have the right and left half of the body. So we have things like the spine, we have the root bone, we have the right shoulder or the right arm 2, and the right hand. For legs, you can just do left leg 1, left leg 2, etc. until you get to the foot. So it's pretty simple. And as I said, if you want to follow along with what I'm writing specifically, you can slow the footage down. Okay, now that we've gone through that, we can press Tab, and it's all moving as 1. If you go rotate, it's all moving as 1. We want to right click on the mesh, Shift right click to select the armature, Ctrl P with automatic weights, and now if we go to Tab, Pose Mode, we should be able to rotate and move these components. Now you'll notice it's not perfect, but that is why we're going to do weight painting. So these are pretty good. They're not affecting anything else. But there are things like in the head, it's a bit wonky. Awesome. Let's move on to the next section. We are now going to begin weight painting. So before we start painting the weights, we need to select our armature, click on object mode and go to pose mode. Pose mode is where we can actually rotate the joints and set up our animations. We also need to be in pose mode so that when we are in weight painting mode, we can see how the joints are reacting. Right click on the mesh once that's in pose mode, click down here and you can go to weight paint, or you can press Control Tab. Now, you see if right now I've got this bone selected, so if you right click on a bone, you can select a bone. And if you were to say right click and move it around, you'll see how it reacts. And if you let go, if you press right click, it gets out of that mode where you've rotated it. Now you'll notice that the red areas are moving really well, but this yellowish area, it's not really moving properly. The idea behind weight painting is that you paint the areas strongest to where the bone, to what bone it's meant to affect. And for example, if you have a bone like this one, you'll see this is painted a bit. This hand should not be affecting the eye. So what we can do is we can add and subtract weight. Let's begin by adding to the bone. So we'll do it on a bone by bone basis and see how we go. So let's right click here. We can go to the blend, add. Then we can hold left click and paint that in. Just make sure we get all the different sides. If you want to, whoops. And then let's test it out. So hold right click and move it. It's still a bit wonky. So that must mean there's some bits we may have missed. Okay. Then let's try it one more time. So it's looking much better than before. We can right click here and see what happens. So it moves with it. But it's not doing a great job, so we can left click and paint this in. Now if you want more weight, we can just put that to 1 for 1, and we can increase the radius so you can easily paint more. Just be careful not to hit other areas that you're not meant to. If you're wondering how it is painting it, each vertice that you left click on, it's actually painting onto. So unless you select, like if I just left click here, it's not going to do anything. I need to actually left click and hit the vertices. So let's select all of these for the neck. and it's looking quite good. We just need to make the radius a bit smaller so we can paint these in. Alright, let's try out the neck. And that is much better than before. Awesome. Now we can go to the hand, and we can go from add to subtract and get rid of this. Right click, and now it's not affecting it at all. Same story here. It's already on subtract, so just left click, whoop, undo that. So you see I accidentally painted onto that. So let's left click, paint this off, and that's good now. Select this bone, and that works really well. So all we're doing is testing bones and seeing how it affects the mesh. So that's a bit awkward. We want to subtract all of this. And it appears to have affected it here a bit. That's good. And we can assume for this side, it's the same story. So let's just white paint that out. Oops. This arm's acting a bit weirdly. I'm just going to press tab. Sorry, I'm going to press object mode, go into my armature and see what's happening. Oh no, it's working. Weird. I couldn't get it to do that. I'm just going to go back in here, go to weight paint, and let's see how the legs are going. So let's right click. Oh, that's a bit awkward. Oh, actually, press shift tab. Make sure you're not in the snapping mode when you do this. Okay, that's better. So right click, press R, see what happens. We need to subtract here. So let's get rid of all of this. Let's do that again. Still affecting. So sometimes, even though you paint all that off, if you right click onto this joint, you'll see it's affecting as well. So you need to get rid of that because they're all together. You need to make sure that each one is not affecting vertices that it shouldn't be. So let's right click here again. And now that's all fixed. Right click on this one. Now we want this to be really strong. So let's select the add and let's paint all of this in. That way we can easily rotate the foot and not have anything deforming. So let's press R and rotate that. That's pretty good. Okay, so we can right click over here, do the same thing for the foot. And then we can work our way up. So right click here, let's go to subtract, select this one. Let's subtract all of this, just like we did in the other leg. Right click, subtract all of this. And that's pretty good. Let's see what this bone will do. So that's the root bone, it will move all of it, right click. That's good, minus the body bit. So let's see why that is. Subtract, let's subtract here, and here, and also a bit down here. I'm just going to subtract this. So the root bone will still affect everything. Let's right click here. Okay. Whoa, that's actually worse now. Let's select the root bone. I think we should actually add. And let's see what happens. There we go. So now all these verts are being supported by the root bone. So when I select this bone here and it's supporting all of these other joints, it's not affecting the body anymore. So that's it. So I'm going to save that, go to object mode, go to the armature, impose mode, and now it's all good. Everything's working pretty well. This can now be animated. Thanks for watching, everyone. In the next video, we'll be doing the character run animation, and that will be the end of this mini character creation series. I hope you've been enjoying it. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.